Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I assume you're clapping because we made it. It's going to be a good night. Thank you very much for being here tonight with us. My name is Paul Grambo, and it is my great pleasure to be your MC for tonight's Canadian Celtic Choir concert. Say that 5 times fast. Which is the kickoff for the choir's upcoming tour of Scotland and England.
The Canadian Celtic Choir started in around 1996. And we're coming up to 2016, which brings it into the 20th anniversary. That's a very special year. Generally, 25th anniversaries are even more powerful, but this is the 20th. This is our first powerful anniversary.
Loch Lomond is a well-known traditional Scottish song first published in 1841. However, the author is unknown. There are many theories about the meaning of the song. We all know the words, but what is it about? One is about 2 of Bonnie Prince Charlie's men captured and left behind in Carlisle after the failed Jacobite uprising of 1745. We all remember it well. The song appears to have been written by one young soldier to his sweetheart. He was to be executed, the other released. The spirit of the dead soldier traveled by the low road, which would reach Scotland before his comrade, struggling along the actual high, rugged country. Our soloist...
By yon bonny banks and by yon bonny braes, where the sun shines bright on Loch Lomond, where me and my true love were ever wont to gae, on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond.
Dear relaxed. This choir, I think what's special about it is it's a more relaxed group. We do lots of things well, but we don't get our noses out of joint if we mess something up. And so there's a lot more freedom within the choir, and I enjoy that.
I think this choir, in singing-wise, it vacillates over the 5 years that I've been with them. We've gone from 43 as high as, I believe, 53. At the moment, we are sitting, when you talk about active members, i.e. singers that sing both the Christmas concert and the ending, would be around 49 or 50, which is fairly big for a stage of this size.
Thinking of guest artists that we have worked with, I liked the spirit of the last group, the Fitzgeralds, that we worked with. I thought that was wonderful.
Somebody asked me, what's the difference between your concerts versus other concerts? And I think it's this. We do concerts that border on a show. Now, there's the classical concert. You go in, you do your thing, you sing, and you might have instruments join you for some works or whatever. But it's a concert. What everybody understands what the word concert means. Whereas we come here and we're in this hall and we have our guest artists like Rant Maggie Rant, for instance. I'll use them as an example. That concert turned out to be a show, because some of the works we did are with Rant Maggie Rant. And so once you work with an ensemble like that, the whole thing changes. You become Rant Maggie Rant. Or in the last concert we just did, we become with the Fitzgeralds. We are part of them. It's a show. So it's a whole different concept, and that's what makes it kind of exciting. Celtic choir What does it make it different? Well, it's funny, we just won an award for a classical choir, which I always laugh. But in a way, there is a connection. The choir itself is classical, if you will, only in the way it's set up musically. It's a typical SATB, that's classical. We learn everything in sections, that's classical. We are a choir, that's classical. Where it differs is in the actual music repertoire and how we go about it. That's the only way we differ. In sound, we actually sound like a classical choir, if you will, but the sound ultimately has to work in this environmental thing where the sound has to become lighter and lighter, because Celtic music is a light, buoyant kind of a sound, be it a solo voice or even if it's a group. You don't hear the Brunhilde kind of sound that comes through like some choirs will produce. So my aim always is to get our classical music, i.e., or our Celtic music, to get lighter and lighter. Very, very buoyant, very, very light, but still projecting out into the audience, because that's the nature of the music that we do.
Oh, one of the most challenging is Low Bridge. And the other one is Jingle Bells, because it goes like the wind, and I have just a dickens of a time. I have to drop some notes in order to play it, and it seems I'm dropping more notes all the time.
I have several favorite pieces, but there are some that stick in my memory, not because they're favorite, but because of the way they were rehearsed, or the silly things that went on during the rehearsals, and so the piece just sticks in your memory. For instance, just recently we did the Low Bridge. Well, of course, I didn't conduct that work. I mean, I taught the work, to be sure, but Paul conducted it because I so badly wanted to sing this work with the gentleman. Well, I only did the work to sing it, so I could really listen to Gene on the piano part. It was the zaniest piano part ever, and so that work sticks in my head, more because of the piano work, not so much the way the choral parts work, although they was zany enough. It's the piano part. Always remember that. And then, of course, I'll remember River Song, which we just recently did, just because it was so different for the choir, and we finally able to pull it off from memory. Your memory does not come naturally to our crew, so it was great to be able to do a work like that from memory. And River Song stuck in my head just because of the fiddling nature that was going on in the background. So sometimes I come to pieces for different reasons, not so much, it's because the way they recur over and over as a loop in my brain.
Every inch of the way, from Albany to
Celtic music, it can be emotional, it's not always. Some of it's storytelling and some of it just sets a mood. Some of it just has a beautiful line to it.
Eventually, what we will do is come up with what I call the Celtic choir's Celtic sound. We'll actually come up with our own sound. Like a mobile has its own sound. Like an orchestra has its own sound. We will have eventually the Celtic choir's own sound, so that when you hear that, oh, we know who that group is without even putting a name on it. We know who they are.
But the main reason that I decided I wanted to join the choir was because I was tired of church robes, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to wear a costume.
My only finishing comments, it's a lot of fun conducting this crew, especially in rehearsals. Rehearsals can be absolutely zany.
All for Me Grog is a traditional sea shanty arranged for choir by Stephen Hatfield. Now, fun fact, grog is any variety of alcoholic beverage. The word originally referred to a drink made with water or small beer, a weak beer, and rum, which British Vice Admiral Edward Vernon introduced to the Royal Navy on August the 21st, 1740. It was a very good day. Vernon, and here's the name, Vernon wore a coat of grogram cloth, which I needed to look up, and was nicknamed Old Grogram or Old grog. It tastes like old cloth, is what I got out of that. The song tells a tale of a man who sells all his possessions and even his wife to pay for drink and tobacco. Although the song is effectively about a man's ruin through drink, it is upbeat and celebratory rather than regretful. I have no comment on that. Bottoms up, it's all for me grog.